We're back with another after credits rewrite. This time, we're continuing our saga of the Jurassic Park trilogy with Jurassic Park 3. Dun dun dun. Here's what's going on. I am going to rewrite basically everything except a few scenes here and there from the Jurassic Park 3 movie. I rewatched it just so I could be up to date on things and give you guys a good rewrite of the script. Here's how we're starting this off. 1. Alan and Ellie are not separated. They're actually married now, and they have a kid who is a boy. This boy is like maybe 10, 11, or 12. Somewhere around that range. And I know they're a little older back in the first film, so after a couple years, they've been together. Maybe back in the Lost World is when they get married or something. However that goes. We can figure that detail out later. Leave a comment if you think that they shouldn't be together. But I think that they should. It puts more tension and stress on their relationship as they go throughout this saga of movies. So, they have a teen or tween who is tagging along on their excavation since Ellie is we're going to call her a dino vet. She's tagging along to make sure that Alan is doing his job right. He's still excavating, doing all these things, right? Someone I'm subbing out for is going to be Billy. Billy, I felt, should have been Timmy from the first movie. Timmy is older now. He's in his early 20s because we've gone through some time here. Timmy's older now. Here's what's happening. Timmy is secretly working for InGen while working with Alan. This puts a damper on things when they go to the island. Alan and Ellie having this tween is putting a little stress on their relationship because Alan is figuring out how to raise someone who is not a child anymore. He's in this weird phase of being a parent to a tween, 12-year-old boy. So there is a little bit of stress on their relationship in this movie. Ian is a smaller part of this film because he was the main protagonist in the last film, but he's still in it. He is in contact with Alan and Ellie, and we actually see him in court trying to get Hammond shut down, and he has this big beef with Hammond, and it's a whole thing. So we can write that in there. Instead of Ian being in court on Jurassic World, he's now in Jurassic Park trying to get this whole thing done and dealt with. Okay, we're still in the first act. Hammond calls up Alan and Ellie to get them to a conference that's going on overseas. They have to fly for this overseas conference, so they take a plane. They're able to be convinced. Don't tell me the intricacies of that. I'm not writing the details, I'm writing the main plot. Like, we'll get into the details if we really need to, okay? So, they get convinced to go on this plane. Alan, since he says in Jurassic Park 3, I will never go to these islands ever again, says the same thing. We're not flying over these islands. We're not doing that. However, as they begin their journey, the pilot notices that there's a big storm up ahead. So they have to cut around. They're not going to be able to fly through the storm. They have to go around. And so they fly over the nest of islands. Then a pterodactyl is flying up next to them. Alan is reminiscing about being on the islands with Ellie and all of that. Ellie, Alan, their son, and Tim are all on the plane. We're going to call them the main four because they're the main group, with a few others that are also on their way to the conference. This crew is made up of scientists as well, like Alan and Ellie, but they're not as important, so that way they can get eaten later on. We get to see some dino stuff happen. As this pterodactyl is flying next to the plane, we see it collide with the plane because there's wind going around and all of that, whatever that may be. Come to find out later that earlier, Tim had sabotaged the plane for InGen. InGen had sent him a message to sabotage the plane so that way he can go down there and work for them at their base. As the plane goes down, they're able to land on an abandoned landing strip where they find another plane. But this plane can barely lift off, and we see that same shot in Jurassic Park 3 where the Spinosaurus comes out, chases them on the runway, but they can't take off because they hit the Spinosaur and go into the trees. I will say that the Spinosaur and the Raptors are a good main antagonist for this film. I did like them being able to chase the group around. That was fun. Very scary. Very survival-esque. We see the main four come upon the raptor's eggs, and since Billy took them in the original script, we see Timmy take the raptor's eggs for InGen. He's going to take them back to them coming up here. I was thinking up ways of how to write Act 2 because I didn't like just them walking the whole island. That was kind of boring. What I thought of was InGen is still on Site B, but they're doing their own experiments on things. So, from the Lost World, we have the carnivorous plants, or the parasitic plants, and then they're also doing research on making miniature versions of the dinosaurs. We have them doing research on raptors and making them weapons, as we see in Jurassic World. This could lead into a version of Jurassic World, but not making it the main story. This is what we see later on because of what InGen is doing on this site. So, we're making Jurassic Park 3 more focused on the research part of InGen, so that way it can be used for Jurassic World. Now, as they are walking through the island trying to find shelter, the group goes and finds a clearing with a huge dome. And this is an electrified fence. So that way dinosaurs, big dinos, small dinos, whatever, can't get in as InGen is doing their research. The main four is able to sneak in to the dome because there aren't that many guards there because of the electrical dome. That means that they're getting confident with their ability to keep all the dinosaurs out. So the main four get in, but they get captured once they get in. These events lead up to us finding another main antagonist, a human antagonist. We'll just call him the Doctor. Now, this Doctor is kind of what we see from the first Jurassic Park movie to Jurassic World. He becomes this main scientist guy who used to be just a lab coat. He's now a main scientist guy. I forget his name, but if you know who I'm talking about, you know who I'm talking about. So the main Doctor talks to Tim like he's a friend. We see this betrayal scene going on where Alan's like, Tim, I can't believe you done this. Why'd you do this? And Tim is like, I'm sorry, the pay was good. And then we get this heartfelt scene where Alan has to convince Tim that he used to be someone that liked dinosaurs, that was all for the preservation of dinosaurs, and was on Alan's side with this part of dinosaur research. So then Tim has a heart-to-heart moment with Alan and says, look, I'm not going to be this guy that I'm becoming anymore. So we get a good trope of him going back to the good side. He sabotages the base, where it explodes and shuts down the electrical fence. What we see happen from this scene is it shows the outside. The fence is going down, but there are raptors on the outside because they had taken their eggs. So the raptors are hunting the group to find their eggs. So we have this standoff between the raptors and the main four. We let go of the raptor eggs. The raptors pick them up, head out. What we realize right after is that the fence was actually creating this frequency for the big dinosaurs to keep them away from the electrical fence. That way they wouldn't create any problems for the fence. They would stay away and not like break down the fence or anything. But we do see some earlier as our main four are walking up to the dome, dead because they were electrified from the fence. So we see more chaos ensue because the big dinosaurs are now coming into the electrical dome that is now shut off because they're mad about the frequency that was being emitted. So they're going to destroy everything that's inside of the dome. As this chaos ensues, the main four are able to escape. They jump off a cliff into the river that leads into the aviary where the pterodactyls are, as we see in the original script. I really liked this scene because of the fog, and you don't know where the group is. So we have this bridge that they're trying to get across, and then Timmy gets picked up by the pterodactyl, and then Alan and Ellie's son gets picked up by the pterodactyl as well. Timmy is now in the river flowing down as he's getting beaten by the pterodactyls, which then we think that he's dead because he gets drowned, or he looks like he gets drowned by the pterodactyls, but we don't see him come up until later. But it's a good scene because we think Timmy's dead. He had this redemption arc, and now he's dead after all of that. Bummer. Until the end. So, Timmy rescues Alan and Ellie's son from the pterodactyls, as in the original script, but then all that happens in the river as they try to beat him down and drown him. I liked the ending fight, or I guess the ending climax to the Spinosaur trying to get the main group. They find the satellite phone, they call Ian, who then calls the military that comes rescue them at the end. It's a great scene, really loved it, and I hope that this whole rewrite, if you guys are thinking about it, focuses more on the survival part, because we see a little bit of survival in the first and the second, but this one is more like horror filled. We get a lot of closed spaces within the jungle, within the river, the aviary, even the electric dome that they're trying to escape. This is very horror survival-esque, but in the PG sense. The important part of this is the post-credits scene. Hammond is in court. He gets shut down with all of his park stuff, which is a bummer because we want to see a good park, but it'll never happen because dinosaurs, and life finds a way. Also, we see InGen get shut down as well because they were like a subsidiary of Hammond and his whole park enterprise. In the last post-credits scene, we see the Doctor still alive with fragments of his research on a boat heading out from Site B. And this all leads into Jurassic World. So let us know what you guys think. Did you like this rewrite? What would you rather see in Jurassic Park 3? Like and comment down below. Don't forget to subscribe. We'll see you on the next one.